Life is a magnificent journey, isn't it? But let me tell you something, friends. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for those who are looking for an easy ride. No. Life is for the brave, for the bold, for those who are willing to grab it by the horns and say, I'm going to make something of myself. Now, I've been around the block a few times. I've seen people rise to incredible heights, and I've seen people fall to devastating lows. And you know what I've learned? The difference between success and failure, between a life of fulfillment and a life of regret, comes down to one simple thing: discipline. It's a powerful word, isn't it? It might even make some of you uncomfortable. Good. It should, because discipline is what separates the achievers from the dreamers, the doers from the talkers, the successful from the mediocre. But here's the thing about discipline. It's not something you're born with. It's not something that's gifted to you. No, discipline is something you build, something you practice every single day of your life. Think about it this way. When you were a child, did you automatically know how to tie your shoes? Of course not. You had to practice. You had to fail. You had to keep trying until you got it right. And now you can tie your shoes without even thinking about it. That's what discipline is all about. It's about doing the things you need to do, even when you don't feel like it. It's about getting up early when your bed feels oh so comfortable. It's about hitting the gym when your favorite show is on TV. It's about saving money when that new gadget is calling your name. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but it's hard. Well, let me tell you something. Of course it's hard. If it were easy, everyone would do it, and then it wouldn't be worth anything. You see, the things that are truly valuable in life are the things that require effort, that require sacrifice, that require discipline. Anyone can sit on the couch and watch TV all day. Anyone can eat junk food and neglect their health. Anyone can spend every penny they earn and never save for the future, but it takes a special kind of person to say, no, I'm going to do better. I'm going to be better. It takes discipline to make the hard choices, to do the work when no one is watching, to keep pushing forward when everything inside you is screaming to give. Let me share a little secret with you. Success isn't about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. It's about mastering the basics, day in and day out. Think about the most successful people you know. Do you think they became successful overnight? Do you think they woke up one day and suddenly had it all figured out? Of course not. They built their success one day at a time, one decision at a time, one disciplined action at a time. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. There will be days when you don't feel like getting out of bed. There will be times when you want to throw in the towel and say, forget it, this is too hard. But let me tell you something. Those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments when you have to dig deep and find that discipline within yourself. Because here's the truth. Discipline is freedom. Yes, you heard me right. Discipline is freedom. When you have the discipline to control your actions, to make the right choices, to do what needs to be done, that's when you're truly free. Free from the tyranny of your impulses. Free from the chains of procrastination. Free to become the person you were meant to be. Think about your finances for a moment. When you have the discipline to live below your means, to save and invest wisely, you gain the freedom to make choices. You're not trapped by debt. You're not living paycheck to paycheck. You have options. That's freedom. Or consider your health. When you have the discipline to eat right, to exercise regularly, to get enough sleep, you gain the freedom of a healthy body and mind. You have the energy to pursue your dreams, to enjoy life to its fullest. That's freedom. And what about your relationships? When you have the discipline to be kind, to be patient, to be understanding, even when it's difficult, you build strong, lasting connections. You create a support network that can carry you through life's ups and downs. It's freedom. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but I've tried to be disciplined before. It didn't work. Well, let me tell you something. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. Every time you fail, you learn. Every time you fall short, you grow stronger. The key is to keep going, to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again. Because discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about making progress, not achieving perfection. Let me give you an example. Say you decide to start exercising. You set a goal to work out for an hour every day. The first week, you nail it. You're feeling great, you're on top of the world, but then life happens. You miss a day, then another. And before you know it, you're back on the couch feeling like a... But here's where discipline comes in. Instead of giving up entirely, you adjust. Maybe you can't do an hour every day, but can you do 30 minutes? Can you do 15? Can you just put on your workout clothes and step outside for a walk? You see, discipline isn't about adhering to some rigid, inflexible plan. It's about consistently moving in the right direction, even if it's just a small step at a time. And let me tell you something else. Discipline compounds. Just like interest in your bank account, the effects of discipline grow over time. That daily 15-minute walk might not seem like much at first, but over weeks, months, years, it transforms your health, your energy, your life. The same is true for every area of your life. The discipline to read a few pages every day turns into a wealth of knowledge over time. The discipline to save a little money each week turns into financial security. The discipline to work on your craft every day turns into mastery. Now, I want you to think about something for a moment. Imagine your life 5 years from now. If you continue on your current path, where will you be? What will your health be like? Your relationships? Your career? Your finances? Are you happy with that picture? If not, what needs to change? And more importantly, what are you willing to do about it? It's because here's the thing. Your life is a result of your choices. Every day, you're making choices that are shaping your future. The question is, are you making those choices consciously with discipline and purpose? Or are you just drifting along, letting life happen to you? I'm here to tell you that you have the power to change. You have the power to shape your life, to create your future. But it starts with discipline. It starts with making a decision and sticking to it day after day, no matter what. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but I don't have time for all this discipline stuff. I'm too busy. Well, let me ask you something. Are you too busy to be successful? Are you too busy to be healthy? Are you too busy to be happy? Of course not. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. The difference is how we choose to use them. And that, my friends, comes down to discipline. You see, discipline isn't about having more time. It's about making better use of the time you have. It's about prioritizing what's truly important and having the strength to say no to the things that aren't. Think about it this way. How much time do you spend each day on things that don't really matter? How much time do you waste on activities that don't bring you closer to your goals? If you could reclaim even a fraction of that time and put it towards something meaningful, imagine what you could accomplish. But here's the catch. It's not going to happen on its own. You need to make it happen. You need to have the discipline to set boundaries, to stick to a schedule, to focus on what's truly important. And let me tell you, it's not always going to be fun. There will be days when you'd rather hit the snooze button than get up early to work on your goals. There will be times when you'd rather indulge in instant gratification than delay your rewards for something greater down the line. But that's where discipline comes in. Discipline is what gets you out of bed when you'd rather sleep in. Discipline is what keeps you focused when distractions are calling your name. Discipline is what pushes you to keep going when everything inside you wants to quit. And here's the beautiful thing about discipline. It gets easier with practice. Just like a muscle, the more you exercise your discipline, the stronger it becomes. What seems impossible today becomes manageable tomorrow, and easy the day after that. But you have to start. You have to take that first step. You have to make the decision to change, to grow, to become the person you were meant to be. Now, I want you to do something for me. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine your ideal life. What does it look like? How do you feel? What have you accomplished? Got that picture in your mind? Good. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what's standing between you and that life? Is it a lack of knowledge? Is it a lack of resources? Or is it a lack of discipline? I'll tell you right now, for most people, it's discipline. It's the ability to consistently do what needs to be done. Even when it's not easy, even when it's not fun, even when no one else is watching. But here's the good news. You can develop that discipline. You can cultivate it, nurture it, grow it. And as you do, you'll find that your life begins to change. Slowly at first, but then with increasing momentum. You see, success isn't a destination. It's not some far-off point that you reach and then you're done. No, success is a journey. It's a process of constant growth, constant improvement, constant discipline. And the beautiful thing is, once you start seeing results, it becomes addictive. You start to crave that feeling of accomplishment, that sense of progress. You start to enjoy the process itself, not just the end result. But it all starts with a decision to take control of your life, a decision to stop making excuses and start making progress, a decision to discipline yourself. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but where do I start? It all seems so overwhelming. Well, let me give you a piece of advice. Start small. Don't try to change everything overnight. Pick one area of your life, one habit you want to develop, and focus on that. Maybe it's getting up 30 minutes earlier each day. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's reading for 15 minutes before bed. Whatever it is, choose something small and manageable and commit to doing it every single day for the next 30 days. Why 30 days? Because that's roughly how long it takes to form a habit. After 30 days of consistent action, what once required discipline starts to become automatic. It becomes part of who you are. And once you've mastered one small habit, you can move on to the next. And the next. And before you know it, you've transformed your life one disciplined action at a time. But here's the key. You have to be consistent. You have to show up every day, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. Because that's when it counts the most. Remember, discipline isn't about motivation. Motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. Discipline is about commitment. It's about doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel in the moment. And let me tell you something. The satisfaction you get from honoring your commitments to yourself is far greater than any temporary pleasure you might get from taking the easy way out. Think about it. How do you feel when you hit the snooze button and sleep in, knowing you should be up and working on your goals? Now compare that to how you feel when you drag yourself out of bed, push through the discomfort, and accomplish what you set out to do. There's no comparison, is there? That's the power of discipline. It's not just about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. It's about developing the strength of character to do what's right, not what's easy. Now, I want to address something important here. Some of you might be thinking, but what about balance? Doesn't all this talk of discipline mean I can't enjoy life? Absolutely not. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You see, true discipline actually creates more freedom in your life, not less. When you have the discipline to manage your time effectively, you have more time for the things you enjoy. When you have the discipline to manage your money wisely, you have more resources to pursue your passions. When you have the discipline to take care of your health, you have more energy to live life to the fullest. Discipline isn't about depriving yourself. It's about aligning your actions with your values and your long-term goals. It's about making conscious choices rather than being at the mercy of your impulses. And here's another thing. Discipline doesn't mean you can't have fun. It doesn't mean you can't relax or enjoy life's pleasures. But it does mean that you do these things intentionally as a reward for your hard work rather than as an escape from your responsibilities. Think about it this way. Which tastes better? A dessert you've earned after a week of healthy eating, or one you're using to soothe your guilt over breaking your diet again? Which feels better? A vacation you've saved for and planned, or one you've put on credit because you couldn't resist the temptation? You see, discipline actually enhances your enjoyment of life. It allows you to fully immerse yourself in the moment, free from the nagging guilt or anxiety that comes from knowing you're neglecting your responsibilities. But here's the thing, discipline isn't a one-time decision, it's a daily choice. Every day you're going to face temptations. Every day you're going to have opportunities to either strengthen your discipline or weaken it. The key is to make the right choice more often than not. Remember, you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be consistent. You have to keep moving in the right direction, even if you stumble sometimes. And when you do stumble, because you will, we all do, don't beat yourself up about it. Don't use it as an excuse to give up. Instead, use it as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to strengthen your resolve. Ask yourself, what led to this slip-up? What can I do differently next time? Then pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back on track. That's what discipline is all about. Not perfection, but pursuit. Now, I want to talk about something that's absolutely crucial when it comes to discipline. Your environment. You see, we're all influenced by our surroundings, whether we realize it or not. The people we spend time with, the information we consume, the physical spaces we occupy. All of these things shape our thoughts, our actions, our habits. So if you're serious about developing discipline, you need to create an environment that supports your goals. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, who challenge you, who hold you accountable. Fill your mind with positive, empowering information. Organize your physical space in a way that makes it easy to make good choices and hard to make bad ones. For example, if you're trying to eat healthier, don't keep junk food in the house. If you're trying to read more, keep a book by your bedside instead of your phone. If you're trying to exercise more, lay out your workout clothes the night before. These might seem like small things, but they add up. They reduce the amount of willpower you need to exert, making it easier to stick to your disciplined habits. And speaking of willpower, let's talk about that for a moment. You see, willpower is like a muscle. It can be strengthened with use, but it also gets fatigued. That's why it's often easier to stick to your goals in the morning when your willpower is fresh than it is in the evening after a long day. Knowing this, you can structure your day to support your discipline. Tackle your most important tasks, the ones that require the most discipline, early in the day when your willpower is strongest. Save the easier, more enjoyable task for later. And here's another tip. Use routines to your advantage. When you create a routine, you reduce the number of decisions you have to make. And each decision you make drains a little bit of your willpower. So by establishing routines for the important areas of your life, your morning routine, your work routine, your exercise routine, you free up mental energy for the tasks that really matter. Now, I want to address something that I know many of you are thinking. But what about when things get really tough? What about when life throws you a curveball? Well, my friends, that's when discipline matters most. You see, it's easy to stay disciplined when everything is going smoothly. It's when life throws you a curveball that your discipline is truly tested. And let me tell you, those are the moments that define you. When you lose your job, when a relationship ends, when you face a health crisis, these are the times when it's tempting to throw in the towel, to say, what's the point? And let all your hard-earned habits slip away. But these are also the times when discipline can be your lifeline, your anchor in the storm. Think about it. When you're facing a crisis, isn't that when you need your health the most? Isn't that when you need your finances to be in order? Isn't that when you need the mental clarity and resilience that come from maintaining your good habits? I remember a time back in my early days when I hit a rough patch. Business was slow, bills were piling up, and it seemed like everything was falling apart. It would have been easy to give up, to stop showing up, to let my discipline slide. But I knew that if I did that, I'd only be digging myself into a deeper hole. So instead, I doubled down on my discipline. I got up earlier, worked harder, stuck to my budget even more rigorously. And you know what? It wasn't easy. There were days when I wanted to quit, when I wondered if it was all worth it. But I kept going one day at a time, one disciplined action at a time. And eventually, things turned around. Not because of luck, not because of some miraculous change in circumstances, but because I had the discipline to keep pushing forward even when things were tough. That's the power of discipline. It's not just about helping you succeed when things are good. It's about giving you the strength to weather the storms, to bounce back from setbacks, to keep moving forward, even when the path is difficult. Now, I want to talk about something that's often overlooked when it comes to discipline. The importance of rest and recovery. You see, discipline isn't about pushing yourself to the breaking point. It's not about working yourself into the ground. In fact, that kind of approach is often counterproductive. True discipline includes knowing when to rest, when to recharge your batteries. It's about maintaining a sustainable pace, not sprinting until you burn out. Think of it like interval training, periods of intense focus and effort, followed by. This applies to every area of your life. In your work, it means taking regular breaks to maintain your productivity. In your fitness routine, it means allowing for rest days to prevent injury and promote muscle growth. In your personal development, it means taking time to reflect and integrate what you've learned. Remember, the goal of discipline is not to become a machine. It's to become the best version of yourself. And that best version includes being well-rested, balanced, and able to enjoy life. Speaking of enjoying life, let's talk about the role of passion in discipline. Because here's the thing, discipline without direction is just drudgery. You need to have a reason, a purpose, a passion that drives your discipline. Think about the most successful people in any field. Yes, they have incredible discipline, but they also have an unshakable passion for what they do. They're not just going through the motions, they're pursuing something that truly matters to them. So ask yourself, what are you passionate about? What gets you excited? What would you do even if you weren't getting paid for it? Once you identify that, channel your discipline into pursuing it. Because when you combine passion with discipline, that's when the magic happens. Now, I want to address something that I know holds a lot of people back when it comes to discipline. The fear of failure. You see, many people avoid committing to disciplined habits because they're afraid of falling short. They think, what if I try and fail? Won't that prove I don't have what it takes? But here's the truth. Failure is not the opposite of discipline. Giving up is. Failure is just a part of the process. It's a learning opportunity, a chance to adjust your approach, to strengthen your resolve. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall down countless times. But do we say they failed? Of course not. We encourage them to get back up, to try again. We celebrate their efforts, their persistence, their discipline in continuing to try despite the setback. That's the attitude you need to cultivate towards your own efforts at building discipline. Embrace the failures, learn from them, use them as stepping stones towards your goals. Because the only real failure is giving up on yourself. Now let's talk about the role of accountability and discipline. You see, it's one thing to make a commitment to yourself. It's another thing entirely to make that commitment public, to have others holding you accountable. Think about it. How much easier is it to hit the snooze button when you're the only one who knows you're supposed to be getting up early? But what if you've made plans to meet a friend for an early morning run? Suddenly, that alarm clock becomes a lot harder to ignore. That's the power of accountability. It adds an extra layer of motivation, an extra reason to follow through on your commitments. So don't be afraid to share your goals, to ask for support, to find an accountability partner, or join a group of like-minded individuals. Remember, you're not in this alone. We all struggle with discipline at times. We all face challenges and setbacks. But when we come together, when we support each other and hold each other accountable, we can achieve incredible things. Now, I want to talk about something that's absolutely crucial when it comes to discipline. The power of small wins. You see, too often we focus on the big goals, the grand vision. And while it's important to have those long-term objectives, it's the small daily wins that build the foundation of discipline. Think about it. If you're trying to get in shape, you're not going to transform your body overnight. But you can make the choice to eat a healthy breakfast. You can choose to take the stairs instead of the elevator. You can decide to go for a short walk during your lunch break. Each of these actions might seem small on its own, but string them together day after day, week after week, and suddenly you're making real progress. More importantly, you're building the habit of discipline, the habit of making good choices consistently. So celebrate these small wins. Acknowledge the effort it takes to make those daily choices. Because each time you do, you're reinforcing your discipline, you're proving to yourself that you have what it takes. And here's another thing about those small wins. They create momentum. They build your confidence. They make the next choice, the next action, just a little bit easier. Before you know it, what once seemed like a monumental effort becomes second nature. Now let's talk about the importance of flexibility and discipline. Because here's the thing, life doesn't always go according to plan. Circumstances change, new opportunities arise, unexpected challenges pop up. And if your discipline is too rigid, too inflexible, it can actually hold you back. True discipline isn't about sticking to a plan no matter what. It's about staying committed to your goals, your values, your vision for yourself, even if the path to get there needs to change. It's about being able to adapt, to pivot when necessary without losing sight of what's truly important. Think about it like this. If you're driving to a destination and you encounter a roadblock, you don't just give up and go home. You find another route. You might have to take a detour. You might arrive a little later than planned, but you still get to where you're going. That's what discipline looks like in real life. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about keeping your eye on the prize even when the journey gets tough. And speaking of the journey, let's talk about the importance of enjoying the process. Because here's the thing. If you're only focused on the end goal, if you're always living for some future moment, you're going to burn out. You're going to lose your motivation. You're going to wonder what the point of all this discipline is. But when you learn to enjoy the process, when you find satisfaction in the daily actions, the daily choices, that's when discipline becomes sustainable. That's when it becomes a part of who you are, not just something you do. Think about it. If you're trying to get in shape, don't just focus on the number on the scale. Enjoy the feeling of getting stronger, of having more energy. If you're building a business, don't just obsess over the profit margins. Take pride in solving problems, in creating value for others, in learning and growing every day. Because here's the truth. The goal is important, but it's the journey that shapes you. It's the daily discipline, the daily choices that transform you into the person capable of achieving that goal. Now, I want to address something that I know many of you struggle with, the voice of self-doubt. You know the one I'm talking about? The voice that says you can't do this, you're not strong enough, smart enough, disciplined enough. Let me tell you something. We all have that voice. Even the most successful, most disciplined people you know have moments of self-doubt. The difference is they don't let that voice control them. They acknowledge it, then they choose to move forward anyway. You see, discipline isn't about never having doubts. It's about what you do in spite of those doubts. It's about taking action even when you're not sure, even when you're scared, even when part of you wants to give up. Then here's the beautiful thing. Every time you push through that self-doubt, every time you choose discipline over fear, you get stronger. You build your confidence. You prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. So the next time that voice of self-doubt pipes up, thank it for its input, then get to work anyway. Because that's what discipline is all about. Doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Now, as we wrap up our time together, I want to leave you with this thought. Discipline is not a destination. It's not something you achieve and then you're done. It's a lifelong journey, a daily practice, a moment-by-moment choice. But here's the thing. It's a journey worth taking because with each disciplined choice, with each small win, with each obstacle overcome, you're not just moving closer to your goals. You're becoming a stronger, more capable, more confident version of yourself. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Not just achieving external success, but becoming the kind of person you can be proud of. The kind of person who shows up, who follows through, who makes things happen. So I challenge you. Start today. Choose one area of your life where you want to develop more discipline. Start small, but start now. Make a commitment to yourself and honor it. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, about making progress, about becoming a little bit better each day. Because that's how greatness is built. That's how lives are transformed. That's how you become the best version of yourself. One disciplined choice at a time.